Hi, I'm Whitney from Cincinnati Museum Center. Even though we don't have the story tree with us from Duke Energy Children's Museum, we do have a story plant, and I thought we could all use a good read. I've been thinking of all of you young scientists out there who are curious and are experimenting with all kinds of things during this time. So today we're going to read a story about another young scientist called Ada Twist Scientist by Andrea Beaty, and it's illustrated by David Roberts. Now, before we begin, let's get ourselves ready for listening, and grown-ups watching can do this too. Let's take in a deep breath, just like you're smelling the spring flowers. And now let's let it out, just like we're blowing out our birthday candles. Let's do that one more time. Breathe in and out. Ready to read? Great. Ada Twist, Scientist. Ada Marie, said not a word till the day she turned 3. She bounced in her crib and looked all around, observing the world, but not making a sound. She learned how to climb, and she made her big break, with a trail of chaos left in her wake. She ran through the day, chasing each sound and sight, and didn't slow down till she conked out at night. Does that sound like anyone you know? Her parents were frazzled, but tried not to freak, as Ada grew bigger and still did not speak. Well, clearly young Ada, with lots in her head, would have something to say when it ought to be said. And that's just what happened when Ada turned 3. She tore through the house on a fact-finding spree and climbed up the clock just as high as she could. Her parents said, "Stop!" as all good parents would. That is pretty high up there. Ada's chin quivered, but she did not cry. She took a deep breath and she simply asked, "Why?" Such a good question to ask. Why does it tick? And why does it talk? Why don't we call it a granddaughter clock? Why are there pointy things stuck to a rose? And why are there hairs up inside of your nose? She started with why, and then what, how, and when. By bedtime, she came back to why once again. She drifted to sleep as her dazed parents smiled at the curious thoughts of their curious child, who wanted to know what the world was about. They kissed her and whispered, "You'll figure it out." I love all these good questions that Ada is asking. Now, her parents kept up with their high-flying kid, whose questions and chaos both grew as she did. I love how the whole family is helping with Ada's questioning and experiments. Even Miss Greer found her hands were quite full when young Ada's chaos wreaked havoc at school. But this much was clear about Miss Ada Twist. She had all the traits of a great scientist. This is one of our favorite experiments at Cincinnati Museum Center, Mentos and Diet Coke. But don't try that one at home without adult supervision. That's a good one to do outside. Well, Ada was busy that first day of spring, testing the sounds that made mockingbirds sing, when a horrible stench whacked her right in the nose, a pungent aroma that curled up her toes. "Zowie!" said Ada, which got her to thinking, what is the source of that terrible stinking? How does a nose know there's something to smell? And does it still stink if there's no nose to tell? She rattled off questions and tapped on her chin. She'd started the start where she ought to begin. A mystery, a riddle, a puzzle, a quest. This was the moment that Ada loved best. I love that moment too, don't you? Ada did research to learn all that she could of smelling and smells, both the stinky and good. One hypothesis Ada thought could be true. The terrible stink came from Dad's cabbage stew. She tested and tested, but soon Ada knew it was time to come up with hypothesis 2. Do you know what a hypothesis is? That's a great word to learn. It means your best guess that you can test out and prove yourself right or wrong. Then zowie! The stink struck again, just like that. Hypothesis 2. It's caused by the cat. The cat couldn't make such a stink on its own. It needed perfume and some fancy cologne. So young Ada tested. The test was a flop. She started again, but her parents yelled, "Stop!" Oh dear, she's putting her cat in the washing machine. Definitely don't do that one at home. Ada Marie, to the thinking chair now, by the time we count 3. Enough, said her mother. That's it, said her dad. Her parents were frustrated, frazzled, and mad. But why? Ada questioned. Her mother said, no. What? Ada queried. Her father said, go. You've ruined our supper. You've made the cat stink. Enough with your questions. Now you sit there and think. She looked at her parents, and her heart turned to goo. Poor Ada Twist didn't know what to do. Oh dear. She sat all alone by herself in the hall, and Ada once more could say nothing at all. And so Ada sat, and she sat, and she sat, and she thought about science, and stew, and the cat, and how her experiments made such a big mess. Does it have to be so? Is that part of success? Are messes a problem? And while she was thinking, what was the source of that terrible stinking? Ada Marie did what scientists do. She asked a small question, and then she asked 2. And each of those led her to 3 questions more. And some of those questions resulted in 4. As Ada got thinking, she really dug in. She scribbled her questions and tapped on her chin. She started at why, and then what, how, and when. At the end of the hall, she reached why once again. So many great questions. I like how she's drawing out to show her work. Maybe not on the wall, though. Her parents calmed down, and they came back to talk. They looked at the hallway and just had to gawk. No patch of bare paint could be seen on the wall. The thinking chair now was the great thinking hall. They watched their young daughter and sighed as they did. What would they do with this curious kid who wanted to know what the world was about? They smiled and whispered, we'll figure it out. I love that attitude. And that's what they did, because that's what you do when your kid has a passion and a heart that is true. They remade their world. Now they're all in the act of helping young Ada sort fiction from fact. She asks lots of questions. Well, how could she resist? It's all in the heart of a young scientist. Oh my goodness. Look at her wall of experiments. It's so exciting. And as for that smell, well, what can Ada Twist do but learn all she can with her friends in grade 2? Will they discover a stink that curls toes? Well, that is the question. And someday, who knows? The end. If you have a young scientist in your house and you would enjoy doing some activities as a companion to this book, head on over to cincymuseum.org and check out our Wonder series of at-home science experiments. And if you enjoyed this story, I hope you'll consider supporting Cincinnati Museum Center with a donation during this challenging time when we're without most of the revenue that we need to stay open. You can see our website, cincymuseum.org. Thanks, and we'll see you again soon.